is Bold TV.
Top of the morning to you, wherever it is you are watching beautiful, outstanding ladies with disabilities television, Bold TV, right here on your YouTube screen, your Facebook screen, this beautiful, beautiful Saturday morning. It's cold. We don't even know what to call the weather right now. We don't know if we should say it's rainy, it's cold, or it's just there. Yeah. But I hope you're keeping safe. I hope you're enjoying the weekend as it comes, wherever it is you are viewing at this particular time. It's yet another time for us to have a conversation around issues as they affect and concern us as women and girls with disabilities right here on Bold TV. And you know, we never walk alone. Here, we always have co-hosts who are regulars on the show. It's either they're participating or they are hosting their personal episodes. And of course, we do have guests every other time like that. And we have a guest in the house today as well. So I would allow my co-hosts to introduce themselves, starting from myself. My name is Oluwatomisin Adeyefa. I'm a broadcast journalist, a visually impaired person, a disability inclusion facilitator, and the executive director of Popular Abilities Initiative. The host would introduce themselves, and then we'll have the guest. She's a regular guest. If there's anything like regular guest, she's a regular guest on the show. She'll also introduce herself, and then thereafter, we shall commence the conversation in earnest.
Hello, good morning. I remain Osaki Kelisa George Victoria. I reside in Rivers State, on NER precisely. I'm a freelancer and a farmer, a disability rights advocate, a co-host of Bold TV. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Amazing people out there. This is Oge Onoha, and I reside in Benue State, Makurdi precisely. I am an above-knee amputee, and I'm a health and business coach. So happy to be with you to share knowledge.
Okay, thank you very much for that introduction.
Okay, so good morning, everybody, wherever you're listening to us. My name is Oluwakemi Odusoya, and popularly known as the Queen of the Eagles. Yeah, so I am a gender and disability inclusion advocate, and also the executive director of Eagles Voice International for Disability Rights. I'm glad to be on set today. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the voice of the Queen of Eagles. Thank you very much for showing up once again on the program. So, Afyong, Fifi, introduce yourself.
The way you're calling me sounds like a prize that I received it. Good morning, beautiful people. We are here again. Your village people, we have come. My name is Afyong. Why are you people laughing like this now? My name is Afyong Etum. I am a co-host on Bold TV, a member of Bold Arts Initiative. I live and work in Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. I use a wheelchair from spinal cord injury, and I look forward to participating in this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Afyong, for that introduction. Once again, ladies, welcome to the program. And we are not just going to be introducing ourselves. We have a topic to which we are going to be contributing today. The topic for our discussion on this week's episode of Bold TV is self-advocacy for women with disabilities. Self-advocacy is the ability, or should I say, is a skill that ensures that an individual knows their rights, knows their needs, and they're able to ask for it, and they're able to get it. That's the long and short of self-advocacy, really. So self, it means oneself, myself, advocating, pushing or pulling or dragging or speaking for oneself. So it's a skill that women with disabilities should have. And the first question today would be, why do you think it's an essential skill for a woman with disability? At least we have someone like Kemi, who is a gender and inclusion advocate. Let's leave it to the professionals to continue to do this thing now. Why do? And Afyong, for instance, needs to self-advocate as a woman with disabilities. So I'm going to be starting with Afyong because I mentioned her name, and I'm excited that she's on set, just like every other lady on set today. So why do you think it's important for self-advocacy?
There's a saying: if you don't blow your trumpet, who will? If you don't look out for yourself, who will do it for you? Disability is an ongoing, it's a process, it's a marathon, and we are still a long way from the finish line. And I think the most effective way to get things done is if the individuals themselves, imagine if every person living with a disability in their own spheres of influence, wherever you find yourself, each and every one of us was advocating and demanding for our rights. Don't you think we would make more of an impact than waiting for somebody to speak for us? There are so many needs. So if in my own, for example, where I am, I notice that something is missing that would improve my quality of life and that of every other person with disability around me, and I choose to, initiate that conversation with the powers that be, and then hopefully something is done. I'm not the only one who will benefit. Many more coming after me will. So I believe that self-advocacy is the most, one of the most powerful and effective ways of, getting things done.
Thank you very much. I like that part of if you don't blow your trumpet, who will? I'll tell you that people will blow your trumpet, but they won't get it correctly. It's either they are overblowing or they are underblowing. So you are the only one who can actually blow correctly. So if you don't speak up for yourself, people don't know what you need. People can just assume and, they put their assumptions on you, but is that really what you need as a woman with a disability? So that's an important reason why we must self-advocate. Okay, do you have anything to add to that as to why do we need to self-advocacy? Okay,
yes, it's very important that as women, we need to self-advocate. Just like Afyon rightly said, you need to speak out for yourself. If you don't speak out, who will do that? Yes, it helps to reduce the vulnerability, the fact that you are less, that you are not like every other person. You understand? Because you have potentials. Just like every other person has its own potentials. So it helps to reduce the vulnerability. It also helps to reduce the stigma, the stereotype, the kind of misconception that people have about us. Probably they think we're less and we can't speak. Or probably they think we didn't go to school or we're not confident enough. Some people are not having a disability, but they are not confident to speak, right? They are shy. But you see a person with disability, well educated, and is able to, lead other people, well-abled people. So we need to speak out so that it can help us reduce our vulnerability. It can also send a message to the entire public that these people are not less, okay? That they have this disability doesn't make them less, okay? So that is why we need to self-advocate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oge, for adding that. So self-advocacy reduces vulnerability. It also promotes visibility. People see you, they know that you're there. Before we move away from this question, I just want to add another importance of self-advocacy. When we talk about disability, we say diverse is disability. There are different kinds of disability. Because Kemi and I are visually impaired does not mean we would need the same thing. Kemi probably knows how to read Braille. I don't know how to read Braille, for instance. Now, if we go to a function and then you are going to blanket all our needs and give us a Braille copy to read, I might be disadvantaged. So in that situation, if I do not self-advocate for myself, if I do not speak up to say, oh, okay, because I'm visually impaired does not mean that I know how to read Braille. There are other options by which you can provide this same needs for me. So self-advocacy ensures that everybody is met at the point of their respective needs. Because you're a wheelchair user does not mean every wheelchair user would need the same thing at a particular time to function. But when we are able to speak up for ourselves, when we're able to ask, engage in respectful and meaningful conversation as to what we need, we'll see that everybody will be treated and will be accorded what they actually need. Thank you very much, ladies, for lending your voice on that. And I'm just going to go on to Osaki to say that what are the various ways by which you think women with disabilities can self-advocate? What are those channels by which we can put forth our needs, our requests, our advocacy, and we get heard?
Okay, thank you very much, Tommy. Okay, the ways I'm going to use now are: one, know your rights, because that right thing, it's very essential. You're a human being. For example, I have polio, and I've had polio for over 4 decades now. So I should know that I have rights to access a particular environment, or I have rights to get educated. So once I know my rights, I'll be able to talk about it. But if I don't know, that's a big deal, because I won't even know. I'll just look at my disability and say, maybe it's not for me, maybe it's not for. But once I know that, no, I should be able to enter that. It's my right. I'm one of them, Okay, the other one I'll talk about is speak up about your need, that thing that you need. An instance happened in my church recently, and they're doing a very big renovation. And part of the renovation that, they did ramp. Yes, they did. But in the renovation now, they try to add tiles. So now, even the ramp that they did is even useless for whoever that's going to use it, because you still cannot access the place. So I had to meet the person and say, no, please, Father, this your ramp is of no use. So you need to see how you slope the main entrance, or you're going to do it in a way that there would be a way. Because the staircase steps, never for choosing wheelchair. With wheelchair, you cannot even with crutches, the steps is high. So you can't even lift up. Even for those that are elderly, they can't even lift up their legs. So for the young and healthy that can be jumping up and down, and everybody, even if they don't have a disability, you cannot remain young to doing that up and down jumping. One day you get old and you get slacky and all the rest. So I'll talk about that, and also I'll talk about build your communication skills so that you know how to pass this information. Most times we go for advocacy and we don't pass the information well. It's either we are saying it rudely or we are saying in a way that wherever you're talking to will feel offended, or we never understand what you're trying to pass. So I think let's build up our communication skill, that whatever we are going to say is not just for my benefit. Even you that is standing, that has no disability, we even need it. So those are the 3 things I think we'll have to work on.
Okay, so let it not be that Osake is trying in my scripts. She has done copy from my scripts, and then she has just pushed us on to the next question, where I wanted to ask how we could self-advocate. She has mentioned 3 points, actually, ways by which women with disabilities can self-advocate. On how to self-advocate, she said, knowing your right, because if you don't know something is your right, how would you even say it in the first place? And then having, the right communication skills. Sometimes you know you're right, but the way you present it, the manner at which you talk about it, who you talk about it with, and all of those things also kind of matter. So I'm going to redirect the other question of channels, ways by which we can self-advocate. And what I mean, maybe I should say platforms. What platforms are available that you can always seize the opportunity as a woman with disability to self-advocate? And this will be going to Oluwakemi.
All right, fantastic. So I believe that there are several platforms, such as the digital community. That's, for instance, we have the social media. You can as well use WhatsApp. You can as well, perhaps in your classroom, if you belong to a particular maybe network or group of individuals, depending on what you want to advocate for, because that's also very essential. You can use some platform are actually tailored to whatever advocacy you want to do. You can as well go through the community, that's the disability agencies or community, to also push your thoughts. And that's why I said, depending on the kind of advocacy, you can use petitions. You can, so there are all these advocacy processes also definitely matters on what kind of advocacy you are driving. Is it going to be on education? Is it going to be on menstrual hygiene? Is it going to be on digital inclusion? Is it going to be on your need? Just like the example that was given about the religious houses, right? By that, you need to perhaps go through your church, not saying because your church or your religious institute is not accessible, then you begin to go to social media. The very first question would be, have you even gone to the people that actually are the one constructing it first? Then if you're not giving a hearing, a point of you can then look for other channels. So very, very important, the kind of advocacy you want to do. You can use all the mediums I highlighted earlier.
Okay, thank you very much. So those are examples. So for instance, when Osaki mentioned earlier that having the right communication skills. So you have this need that you want to be met in your place of work, for instance, and then you did not approach the management. And the next thing you did was to go on social media to say, oh, my office, they didn't have these, they didn't have, you're on your way to losing your job. So basically, we should, ensure that when we are rightfully advocating for our needs, we go through channels that are right and appropriate at that particular instance. For instance, you want to, some of us who have lawyers as friends, you can, go to the court or, but before you do that, have you examined alternative means of communicating your thoughts, your needs to the other person to ensure that they are listening and they are listening right? Afyong, do you want to add to that? Are there other platforms, channels by which we can advocate for ourselves?
Another means of doing so, I think, like you said, everybody else has said, the most effective means is actually speaking up about it and communicating effectively, ensuring that your message has been received and received well. Another means would be by how you are able to, if there's a way you can actually help make that happen. Let's say, for example, you notice that something, maybe, like you mentioned, let's use the workplace. The layout of the workplace is not exactly, it doesn't enhance accessibility and makes it difficult for you to reach or to access that places. You can do so by actually, if let's say you can actually organize like a training. It doesn't have to take time. Organize a training in your workplace and like tell them, oh, you need to pass across important information that you think will be useful and help people work together more effectively as a team. Conduct a training, like a sensitization and awareness forum. Call them together and then explain these things, not just for you. Like in my workplace, there are just two of us there who are persons with disabilities, at least mobility impairment. And I believe that it would be beneficial to ensure that everybody, because people will tend to assume that people know. Can they see? Don't they know? Why would they not? As far as I'm concerned, everybody is concerned about their own problem. Your problem is not exactly their priority. So you who knows how the shoe is pinching you, I think it would be best to create that forum where you can educate people and let them know this is what I need and this is why I need it to be this way. So that this helps them to see it from your perspective. You're selling them your perspective and hoping they will buy into it and become the means through which you can achieve your objectives. So I think creating a forum where you can educate is another way.
All right, thank you very much. Education, sensitization, awareness. In fact, you don't need to belong to an NGO or belong to an organization for persons with disabilities, an OPD or a DPO, to actually sensitize your community. Now, your community is not just, the community of persons with disability. Your community can be your church, it can be your mosque, it can be your work environment, it can be your, streets in your location where you reside, in your residence. So these are your community. So having to speak with them, make them understand, show them, educate them on the need why certain things have to be put in place also goes a long way in helping that you achieve your aim and objective when you are advocating for yourself. Okay, so how do we then self-advocate? Don't forget that Osaki has mentioned communication skills, knowing your rights, and just having that ability to speak up confidently. So what other ways by which we can, what other ways do we need to employ to ensure that we have a successful self-advocacy?
Okay, so that reminds me, some few years ago, there is this radio program I used to do with Barrister Sunday Sabi, where we sensitize people, that's the public, about people with disability. We call it World of Possibilities. And then we share stories, untold stories of people with disability. I remember I have asked Afyong and I think Osaki to share their story, how their disability journey began and how it has been and all that. So that's the way we were doing it for about 2 or 3 years, sensitizing people, creating awareness about people with disability. And it really helped the outlook, the way people looked at us, the way people perceived us. Because the person I was doing that program with was a barrister. He's visually impaired and he's very good. He's the one that operates virtually everything in that studio. So it's fantastic. The thing wows
the people working there at the radio station when he comes to do his thing, So it's all about creating awareness, and it's persistent, because some of these things, when you're trying to advocate, it may not be easy, but you need to be resilient and persist on what you know is right. And also to share shortly what happened last week. Okay, yes, last week I went to the bank. This week I went to the bank. I went to do some stuffs, and on getting there, I found out that most of my friends that work at the bank, they have been shifted to another branch. So it was entirely new people. And somehow this guy was harsh. At first I greeted and he didn't respond. I greeted the second time, he didn't respond. And I said, "Hello, good morning. Please, I am speaking to you." And everyone was looking at us. And he had to raise up his head at that moment. And I asked him questions about certain people I knew, so as to tell him that I am an old timer in that bank, that I have a disability, which I know you have seen, and decided to treat me in that manner does not mean I don't have a voice. So I had to amplify my voice, and he responded to me, gave me attention, and I was able to do what I came to do in that bank. So persist, because sometimes it's tough. And for something like a bank where there's queue, you need to force yourself in. And like in my case, most of my friends were, shifted to another branch. So it wasn't easy for me to navigate. So I had to speak out, and I was heard. So that's what I would have to say about the ways you can actually advocate for your rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oge. Oluwakemi, what do you have to add to that? What do you need to do as a woman with disability when you are going through self-advocacy?
Okay, so for me, when you're going through self-advocacy as a woman, you need to first get your facts. That's very, very important. You don't go on the field to begin to chant for charity causes. You need to first get your facts right. And when you get on the field, put on your confidence cap, right? Do not allow your disability to limit you. And yes, you are a woman, so what? You have a disability, so what? You are in a patriarchal society, so what? So you need to first be confident. People would not give you the hearing ears. They might not give you the attention, but own it, own your space. And very, very important, do not rudely own your space, right? So when you get the facts right and you get all the, the reason why you are at the field or at the process of advocacy well, you ensure you also do follow up, because it's not enough to also be confident, go on the field, fight for, I'm a woman with a disability, I have to be included. No, it's not just by that. It's also by follow up, because self-advocacy as a woman with disability has a lot to do with resilience. So you also need to have that skill as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oluwakemi. So, Oge and Kemi have just said that you have to be resilient.
Can I say something?
Yes. Okay.
Thomason, can I say something?
Please go ahead.
Yes, it just supports to me that speaking of stereotypes, people tend to expect persons with disabilities to show up tacky. They expect you to show up, shabbily dressed. Speaking of stereotypes, let's be honest. So when they see you well put together, the first reaction is surprise. They can't reconcile the fact that you have a disability and you're dressed so well. There's that, they struggle because they are not. Their whole idea and conditioning towards disability is that persons with disability are tacky, they are shabbily dressed, they are most likely,
beggars.
Cases for charity. So that charity model is prevalent. So one of the things you can do for yourself if you're going to advocate is please package yourself well. Whether you like it or not, image is everything. So everybody will see you. They will first accept who they see before you open your mouth. They buy into your image before you open your mouth. So package yourself well. I'm not saying you must wear name brand items, but dress very well, because you will be addressed the way you dress. You show up shabbily and maybe they'll probably have the security to walk you out first because they don't even know who you are. But when you show up well, they will be forced, that person will be forced to give you attention. And then beyond what you wear, please put on confidence on top of that cloth you are wearing, because that's the best outfit you can put on. No matter how well dressed you are, if you open your mouth and you're stuttering and you don't even know how to, you're not articulate, you don't know how to present your proposal of the cloth with confidence, small confidence.
Hmm.
Let me see. You can go ahead. I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much, Afion, for adding that to it. So we've agreed that knowing your rights, getting your facts right, showing up well, being confident to articulate your point, follow-ups, persistence are the elements that you need to initiate a successful self-advocacy. And like I said, self-advocacy is a skill that every woman with disability, in fact, every person with disability should have, because we all get into different spaces at particular times. And so if you're unable to speak for yourself in a particular space, hey, how would if na fake foundation now be Eagles Voice Foundation come and speak for you? So we must just be able to speak for ourselves at our different spaces to ensure that our needs, our respective needs, are met. I know some of us have talked about. I know Oge has shared a lot of experiences of how she has used opportunities to self-advocate. I'm just going to allow Osaki, if she has an experience of a successfully self-advocacy that you've done, something that you initiated, you asked for it, and it was eventually done. Has there been an experience like that?
All right. Yes. Thank you very much, Missy. In recent times, I've not been in this space for a very long time for now, but previously, there's a shop I usually go to buy daily needs, and I figured out that before now, I'll just maybe send someone and say, okay, I'll just stand in front of the shop and say, bring me this, bring me that. So the attendant there, the sales girl, which is nice, so she does that. One day I came and I think she was not there, and it dawned on me that I need to enter this place. And I noticed that there was no slab. When I say slab, I mean slab, because at times they could just put two plank, something that you won't be scared of entering. And they didn't even have any of that sort. I think so. I can't remember, but I couldn't enter, and that was a slab. So I got somehow I managed myself, and I told the managers that please, that except they don't want to come there again, because I used to be one of the regular customers, that they should put a slab, not just a slab, as in a cement slab, the one that the space is big, so that I don't have to squeeze myself with my crutches trying to cross over, because there's a gutter. So they complained. I told them that I won't come, because the next day they saw me in another show. You're like, we have this stuff, you're not coming. I said, I don't need to put a slab. I'm not joking about that thing. So finally, I think they put into it, and they put a slab that even everybody's happy. Before they were jumping it too. They were jumping it. But once the slab came, I think with disability, without disability, everybody's working on the slab and enjoying it. And it's even good that even someone with wheelchair can still use that same slab. So that's what I can remember. That's the few I can remember. It's a long one anyway. In recent times, I've not had any. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Osaki, for that beautiful one. You see what we are saying? So speaking out for yourself in your respective space helps to make things easier. Imagine Osaki was waiting for Fake Foundation to come or the Ministry of Environment to come, and I'm sure she wouldn't be going to there to buy things, and you can imagine how stranded she would be, and how the other people too would lose customers. So it means that it's a win-win situation after all. Speaking up and speaking out at your respective places. Oluwakemi, do you have an example? I know you're not a professional advocate, but do you have an example of where you didn't involve an organization, you just made the move yourself, and it came to pass?
Okay, so for me, trying to rack my head. Okay, so basically where I worked, there were times where some things were not right, and I had to explain, not the explain tire, right? I had to explain to let them know that these are my needs, right? I'm a lady with visual impairment, and your document that you're sending is not accessible. Or perhaps, yes, they understand that it's a disability inclusive document, but they realize that they were not actually aligning to my own need as a visually impaired person. So I had to pull them through, and they were actually very glad to listen to my my observations. And before the end of business that day, it was actually corrected, and it was business as usual.
Thank you very much, Kemi, for that one. Thank you very much, Kemi, for that one. Yeah, you see what we're saying in your place of work, in the market, in your community, church, mosque. Just having simple conversations sometimes helps people to understand what you need better. Afiong, do you have an example that you'd like to share with us?
Okay, the one that quickly comes to mind is, I remember when I was, the early days of my employment. I remember, having an incident where I fell, while leaving the building, and there was a place just at the entrance. It wasn't very high, just like a step, but it became an issue because going down from there would always require assistance. And it was difficult. And sometimes, people would then, sometimes someone is feeling you, and like, I even forget about you when they are distracted. So I had an incident where I had fallen from there. And so I had to, I was complaining to a friend. In those days, now I would have slapped them with letters, saying sharp, sharp. But back then, I went to complain to a friend of mine who was someone without a disability. And I told him, see what happened? He come back and the hospital do this. And he was like, why are you talking plenty? Write a letter to management. Tell them this is what's happening and this is what you need. Simple. I said, okay. And I went ahead and wrote the letter, submitted it, and it was forwarded to the appropriate person. Actually, I went further to meet the director of works, who would be responsible for actually executing whatever the management decided. So when I spoke, okay, I went after the management directed him to meet me and discuss how it should be done. So when he came, I explained the situation and what would be done to remedy it. I actually told him a ramp needed to be constructed at the entrance so that, people that were not able to use the steps or would be hindered by the elevation could access. And that was done within less than 2 weeks. That was executed. And since then, I'm not the only one who has been using that ramp. Even people that can use the step, they are not using the ramp. And when I go there, I tell them, please leave my runway. Clear from the road, it's not for you. So basically, now everybody likes using that one.
They wanted to commission that ramp. They'll just say Afyon Etim way.
In fact, I should have told them to put my name there so that people will respect it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Thank you, ladies, for sharing all these experiences. And I'm sure our viewers are better informed now, the reasons they need to self-advocate, one of the benefits of self-advocacy, and how to go about it when they find themselves in situations where they need to self-advocate. So let's continue to speak for ourselves. Let's continue to speak up. Let's continue to speak right and speak out to ensure that our needs are met and other people's needs are met and protected at the same time. Because trust me, when you self-advocate, you're not just doing it for yourself. You're doing it for people to come. This parable about when you go through a door, don't shut it. Ensure it remains opened so that other people can also come in and make use of the door. Thank you so much, ladies. Watch out for another episode next week, Saturday, as another interesting conversation with a different co-host on the show would take place. If you like to support us in whatever way, whether you want to come on the program and be a guest or you have a topic you would like us to discuss, please reach out to any of the co-hosts or send an email to the email address that will be scrolling on your screen. Thank you so much once again for liking, sharing, commenting, and viewing our videos every other time. We want to crave your indulgence to continue to like, share, comment, and send us messages as it comes. So we'll come your way again next week. Ladies, kindly unmute your mic.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
This is Bold TV.